All right, Nick, how's it going? Thanks for doing this, man.
Of course, I'm good. How are you?
I'm well. Yeah, why don't we just start with who you are and where you're from and what you do?
Sure. Yeah, my name's Nick Warner. No affiliation to the Warner Brothers, so unfortunately, or Warner Music. I'm from New Jersey originally, but now I'm in LA. Moved out here after college. I'm a full-time producer, studio owner, engineer, all the above. I've been doing that for full time for about 7 years now, ever since college.
Love it, man. Awesome. What describe, I guess, the situation that kind of brought you to Dark Label and come seek some help. What was going on? What we tried to fix up?
Yeah, so those first 7 years or so of doing it full time, it was kind of just me and my intuition and trying to do the best that I could with my business knowledge. I actually got my master's in business, so I like to think I'm good at business, and that carried me that far on my own, I suppose, but not without zigzagging my way through, I suppose. So I got to a point where a lot of my business was coming in from a particular website, and unfortunately it closed down with only 5 days notice, and that was like a third or maybe even a half of my income was coming from there, and a lot of my leads and new clients were coming from there as well. So it ended up impacting me a lot as soon as that closed, and I didn't really know which route to pursue to pick up the slack after that happened. I had lots of little pieces that were going well. I was doing a little sync, a little songwriting, a little engineering, some tracking, some mixing, a good mix of it all. And here in LA, of course, there's some film work too mixed in there, some dialogue editing and podcast stuff like that too. Um, so I didn't know which avenue I should really focus on now that that website had closed down. And that's what led me to looking for different resources, I suppose, to see what made the most sense financially, business wise, and long term potential.
Yeah. We had a rule, I think I've told you this, that with my production company, we were very fortunate to get in like, the founder of Sound Better. We got close with him as we kind of started around the same time, and he thought our company was like a competitor to theirs, like another marketplace, and we weren't. We were just you know a remote production team, early one that was competing for all the same SEO rankings and stuff, as they were. And it was great because we got to be early to that platform and experience some of the benefit. But I always had a rule that, like, never more than 30% comes from an outside platform, just in case something shuts down, and you never hope that they will. And I remember the website that you were Studio Time.
Yep,
um,
exactly.
was kind of like an Airbnb for studios, and I remember that website when we had our company. It was around. I don't remember if we used it or not, but yeah, it's very easy to rely on. Same with, like, people want someone to go find work for them. It's like, this is all fine, but it doesn't replace the fact that you also have to have the abilities to go kick up work on demand when you need it, and all those other things are icing on the cake. So hopefully that lesson for people they can take away. Unfortunately,
Absolutely.
most people do not learn that lesson until they have to learn that lesson.
Yep.
um
And I was there, I suppose, trapped in that
yeah,
little
sure.
corner of all of a sudden having to change my business model a bit. But yeah, I was kind of forced to,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But maybe fortunately in the long run, I'm actually, I think, coming to Dark Label forced me to grow in a lot of good ways. So,
Yeah, I don't judge anybody, but I'm still gonna remind them, like, hey, just a heads up, don't rely too much on one thing. That doesn't mean you have to have a panic attack all day and have all this anxiety, but it's just about, when one thing works, start building the next thing. That was always my motto with our company, and it's why Dark Label exists. That was leveraged off of Make Pop Music. That was leveraged off of Sarning Team. That was leveraged off of the thing before it. So yeah, common situation. So you came in, we worked together. You've been around for about a year now, right?
yep,
Like
just
that.
about,
Yeah,
just short of a year
yeah,
now.
just short of a year, and obviously a big. We love having you, a big contributing member. throwing
Nice.
events at your spot and all that.
Yep.
So we appreciate that. What tell people a little bit about kind of, I guess, what changed, what your experience was, takeaways, wins, kind of what's the situation like now?
Yeah, totally. So I have much more control over where I'm getting my income, where I'm getting clients. I have much more clarity with all that kind of stuff of before I feel like I was reliant, like we said, on that website, but also the other work that I had was just when it came in, and I didn't really know when that was going to happen. And now I have much more control of when it's coming in, when I need more, when I'm too swamped, like controlling all those kind of things. And uh, I guess finding clients, but also how to navigate those clients too. I was doing mostly hourly work through that Airbnb type website we were talking about. And that worked great because it's very clear when time goes by, the price increases, or the whole concept of pricing is very straightforward. And doing project base in this industry can definitely put some gray areas in there. And I kind of stayed away from that because it presented a lot of problems for me in the past. And I think that was one of the biggest initial takeaways from joining Dark Label was clarity of how to structure deals once you had the client, how to structure those deals in a way that made sense both for me, but also for the client so that they want to do the deal with you. And so that whole concept I had stayed away from, and now it's actually one of my focuses. So I think that was the first major jump.
And you have some retainer based stuff too?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
some of the momentum model as you teach, some longer term things have been set up now to do albums, EPs, and just ongoing work so that it can help not only with the initial songs of releasing and creating, but also with the progress of their career path along the way.
Yeah. And then up in general the rates too for at least one-off stuff.
Of course. Yep.
Yeah, as well. Cool. Um, yeah, you made awesome progress, and now we get to work on creating some assets. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
Nick
That's
has a background in YouTube, and then kind of got out of it. Well, I don't know if you would consider getting out of it, but taking a break
kind
or
of.
whatever.
Yeah. I was doing
Um,
one video a week for about 2 years. And now
yeah,
it's like a few videos per year total. So
yeah.
definitely backed off.
So since you already have that asset, not that everybody has to do YouTube, but since you already have that asset and liked doing it and have um, good handful of subscribers already, building some of that stuff up, and now that you have a little bit of time and space, um, and financial means to start creating some things that can continue to pay you,
Absolutely. Yeah.
stand out. So that's next step. I'm going to throw a curveball question here. I know I'll still ask you about working with Aaron, but um, you've been in long enough. Just and I'm asking you this because you've been in for a while, and especially the new kind of version of Dark Label with Aaron and the new incubator and all that kind of stuff. Um, what would you want producers to know about the incubator, about Dark Label, that they probably wouldn't know just by looking at our website or content or something?
Mm,
Putting you on the spot, so you could think about it, but just
sure.
curious.
I think the sense of community is definitely one for myself that I wasn't really expecting.
What
The
about
amount of
it?
yeah, so the amount of resources I suppose that are just at our disposal. Someone has done every avenue in this industry, and either they're doing it now or they have in the past. So they have firsthand experience and insight on some advice of what to do or not to do. So like if someone's trying to go after more sync type stuff, there's plenty of guys out there that have done that within Dark Label. Or if you're trying to do more loop and beat packs, people have done that too. Or type beat creation, like everyone's done at least something, or someone has at least done that professionally in Dark Label. So there's always that resource there with the community, to at least ask those questions of, does this make sense for me? And what did it look like for you?
Yeah. And you have even come up with, not the only one, of course, but like want to give you your flowers for, discovering new things, like using threads and just different, things that other people weren't using. I know you've helped Matt and some of the other guys, like writing their opening message for, you know, networking and stuff like that. And yeah, hopefully you've got some of that back in return, because you certainly contributed, and that's the point. Yeah, I think that I agree. That's the biggest thing that's like hard to see just through the website or the content.
Totally. And yeah, I
Not
guess my answer was a little bit big picture there in terms of career path wise, but I think what
yeah,
you're mentioning there is some of the smaller scale stuff too in the community of just bouncing ideas off each other of how do you talk to a client in these situations, or how do you deal with this small problem that commonly arises in the studio given our career path and stuff like that. So just having those kind of camaraderie almost resources is also something I didn't expect, but is extremely valuable.
yeah, because perspective is important. I think especially in the internet world, which is where we generally meet our clients, they just want to find one person that's going to give them all the answers and stuff. I think that is why, to no fault of anyone, obviously it's like most people find us through YouTube channel, and it's only me on the channel. So they assume like, oh, this is just Dan, and I guess Dan has the answers I'm looking for. Let me talk to Dan. And I'm flattered by that, but as you know, I'm certainly not the smartest in Dark Label by any stretch. But really, it's what the value, I think, is more in just who we attract and put in a community. That is more so what separates it than just me talking to somebody. We'll do that too. Obviously, we're doing that right now and after this recording. But yeah, and you contribute a lot to that. So, working with Aaron, how was that process for you? Because you probably came in to focus more on business, and then here we are putting you with another producer to work on catalog and track review and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
especially for someone that's been doing it this long. How was working with Aaron?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I was really interested in Dark Label more for the business side rather than the actual production side of how to make better music. But that was yet another benefit that I wasn't really expecting, but totally utilized. He's extremely talented, obviously. You wouldn't have hired him if he wasn't. And every time I'm on a live stream with him, he never disappoints. I agree with pretty much everything he says in terms of reviews and thoughts of where he would go with someone else's mix or my own mix, or sometimes I'll even not tell him what I'm thinking on purpose to not give him a bias thought beforehand, and then he says exactly what I was thinking too. So it's really nice to have other people that are totally well versed in the production side and the business side, but the production side that can give you feedback on a professional level with absolutely no strings attached. I mean, he's only there to genuinely help and give you the best feedback that he can give to make your tracks better. And there's no other pieces to the puzzle than that. So having that, it's like a friend who's knowledgeable but also has no stake involved. So it's a nice extra piece to the puzzle.
Yeah, cool, love it. Um, so two more questions here, and then we'll let you get back to work. Why why Dark Label over other options that you could have explored, including just continuing to zigzag on your own, which got you far. But yeah, why even do something like this, and why specifically? What is specifically, I guess, attracted you to Dark Label?
Yeah, I just found you on YouTube. I'd watched a few of your videos. I don't even know, probably over the course of 6 months to a year, just coming up on my feed. And eventually I realized that you had a lot of things in common with my experiences. You had seen kind of it all in some shape or form, and not many people that I knew had. A lot of the successful people that I am connected with, they kind of did it in one area and never really explored the rest. So I kind of felt like I could only relate to a degree, but not completely to their situation and relating it to mine. And I saw that in you as something that you could bring to the table for me, that you had kind of seen it all. Um, and so after resonating, I guess, with enough of your videos, I decided to reach out, and it felt like yeah, we just continued to connect both business wise and personally. And you had given me plenty of resources ahead of time, both with your YouTube videos that are out there for everyone, but just on our phone call too. So it just made sense after connecting enough and you giving me enough support and ideas to work with, and just someone to bounce those kind of ideas off of where to go with my career.
Well, appreciate that. Why not just continue on yourself though? Because you figured out a lot of other stuff.
You're right. You're right. It was working. My career path was working, but with those hiccups along the way, I felt like I was never truly in control, I suppose. So um, that zigzag line that I had mentioned and you mentioned earlier, I felt like I needed to straighten that out and do a lot less guessing along the way. I had done well at that guess and check and using my own intuition, but it was slowing me down, I think, with my progress in my career, and that's mainly why.
Yeah, because I think that's a big thing for people that obviously have a big portion of dark label that are, similar to you in the sense they've been working in this and they have achieved some. I think it's easier for someone new that's like, hey, I need somebody to help be my liaison into full time, and we do a lot of that too. It's probably our bread and butter. And it's obvious why those folks would want some help, some direction. Um, but with people that have done stuff that have hit a level on their own, there's always this little thing in the back. It's like, yeah, could I just figure this out myself? So I'm always curious to see what clicks in your head to where you're just like, you know what, I'm just gonna ask for some help to do this and not do it on my own. Was there like a moment that triggered that, or what was your thinking behind that? Or are you somebody like I'm somebody that like uh I look at help. I look at it as leverage. If I can pay someone to get a problem solved faster, like I do it every time. And I just know that's a superpower. But I don't know if I'm naturally that way or just like asking for help or just that was how my mentors were. So that's not weird to me. I don't have pride in doing things myself. I don't care. I'm here to build a business, and help as many people as we can. So I don't really get too hung up on that. Doesn't mean I can afford to work with everybody or that everybody would even accept me to work with them. But what I find with producers, and I understand why, because I talk to them all day, there is a pride of kind of sorting it out themselves. What was the moment where you're like, "No, I'm good. I'm just gonna pay someone to solve this for me"?
You're right. I'm very independent. Uh,
Mhm.
I don't like asking for help, but I also know the value, I suppose, in mentorship and community. I think the moment that really clicked was when I saw the other testimonials, seeing firsthand of some people's thoughts and experiences within the group. It just confirmed that those suspicions of that you have seen kind of it all were correct, and that my workflow definitely aligned with what you were knowledgeable about.
Well, now you get to make one yourself, and someone else gets to see this one and be like, "Yeah, cool. I want to hang out with Nick."
Yeah, that's true.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, sweet. The world goes round. Final question, and this doesn't have to be like, oh, join Dark Label. Let's make this a value point for others. Um, what advice would you give to someone who was maybe in your same situation before you got to Dark Label? Hey, I built some stuff myself. I had a lot of my work was coming from a couple places. Funny enough, we just had someone come into Dark Label in a very similar situation as you, and you talked to them about it before they came on board. But it's common. People have a lot of their work comes from like maybe one or two big clients or one thing. Or I talked to a lot of people, they work for a studio and then the studio goes away or moves or something happens to it. And all of a sudden, overnight, they have literally no work. And they realize that, oh, I'm stuck here. So, advice you would give to someone um, about how to fix that? What would you say, or something they should think about in the future before it happens?
Yeah, exactly. Have more control over your own business in whatever way I suppose that means for you. Don't be so reliant on one thing, but have more clarity and control and focus over what your strategy and plan is, and know that you're in control of that. Again, that was one of the things that I benefited from, is having that having that confidence, the confidence and the sense of control over knowing when I need a new client, I can always go and get one. So networking is definitely related to that. I neglected networking heavily. I was relying on that website really to do my networking for me, and I never really developed that skill past just my own intuition again and business knowledge, and that had got me that far, but was not never locked in. There was no system in place. There's no structure in place. It was just every situation was I'll do the best I can, and that was it. So I think having a structure, a plan, and that all relating to having you in control as a foundation, basically, before you ever venture out into these other things that could be wins. So when another website pops up and you are able to exploit it or milk it, or you get some giant record that pays big bills, of course, that's great, but that is a little risky. So having that sense of control as the foundation is probably the biggest suggestion.
Love it. And ideally before the problem happens.
Exactly. Before you get
Everybody,
put in
everybody watching this, you technically will never have to experience that if you don't want to. It's up to you.
exactly. Yeah.
You don't have to. Um, but ideally before. And if not, that's okay. There's help, even if it happens, because it's happened to the best of us, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. Appreciate you.
Of course. Appreciate you.